Good morning, folks. Thank you very much for joining us on a Saturday morning, coming to you from Phuket today and looking outside the window. We've got some blue sky and probably a bit of cloud sort of following the weather systems around, noting during the week that the weather here was coming from the southeast most of this week rather than from the southwest. Yes, I am at a place called Dean and DeLuca, a cafe, and that's a coffee machine you can hear in the background. It's sort of become a bit of a tradition to do the program from here each Saturday morning, but that'll be changing next week because we will be in Australia. So from Wednesday next week, the TNT program coming to you from Australia, and on the weekends, where will I be next Saturday? I'll be on an island, way down in the south of Victoria. It won't be hot, and I'll be doing the program from there. I don't know what the internet's going to be like. There's a whole lot of question marks, but I'll be doing my best so we can have our weekly chat. Now, obviously today there's going to be a lot of talk about what happened here in Thailand on Thursday, the mass shooting. I should just sort of say up front that YouTube has probably draconian rules about its censorship on discussions about guns, shootings and drugs. Just even saying those words is probably going to be calling the bots to action. So we will be doing some discussion about it today, quite frank and open discussion, but we do need to be careful about making any claims or making any comments which could inflame the YouTube bots. I don't want to get them into trouble. I don't want to get you into trouble. I don't want to get me in trouble. And of course they can not only demonetize the channel, but they can remove it completely, as some YouTubers have found out recently when they've crossed over that grey line. So let's just see who we've got this morning. And good morning from the UK. Well, that's sort of disappeared. Antoine, hello, we'll get to your questions. We've also got AJF all the way from Airlie Beach. I'll be a bit closer to you next week, AJF. Scott D, nice to have you with us as well. And you've noted a few other shooting incidents in the last couple of years. Foxy, good morning from the UK. Follow you on TNT, hooked on your channel. Thank you very much. Click on that subscribe button. We've got Bob B, hello Tim and all TNT fans. Coco Muang, unrelated news, September 27. Okay, that is unrelated. Question from Scott D. And certainly, Scott, I'll address that as well. Also, people who sent in questions yesterday to our community section of the channel. I've got 7 or 8 of your comments and questions. So, hi, sick puppy. Yes, thank you. Tim. Yes, not Tom. Also, something happened yesterday which has somewhat changed the perspective on what we're doing here on TNT. So you'll probably see a bit of growth in the channel in coming months, and we look forward to trying to improve our commentary about things happening here in Thailand and maybe even increase the frequency of programs. Not necessarily just doing a sort of a commentary program like we do at the moment. Big ups, Frank in Thailand. Steve's Thailand Adventures, thank you for your discussions and comments yesterday. Good morning to you too. Albert Coe, Jimmy James, we've got Stephen J.L. Austin. You can just call me Tim. You don't have to call me Mr. Newton or anything, for heaven's sake. Good morning. Sorry, a little late. Nikki Dunn. Questions will be asked, and probably a spanking involved for being late to the program. C2J. I always have to read these carefully. I remember Mo in The Simpsons getting the prank calls and people using these names that when you say them, they don't quite sound like they read. So I'm on to you. We've also got some good news stories today, but I thought we should actually go through some of the coverage. This I found a little bit surprising. This are 3 stories from the Bangkok Post today. One is deadly mix as the country reels from one of the worst mass killings, those on the front line of family violence drug addiction and mental illness say support systems are in crisis and need a shake-up to prevent further tragedies. These stories are 3 stories on their front page. This one, particularly worrying, alarm in Nakhon Si Thammarat. This is from yesterday. An armed man high on drugs tries to abduct his son from a school a day after the Nong Bua Lampu massacre. Particularly worrying. And this one, which is a political reaction from the Pheu Thai party, which is the opposition party to the Conservative coalition that currently rules Thailand. Pheu Thai seeks drug war revival. Now, the drug war in Thailand was something that was initiated by former Prime Minister Thaksin. And it was a bit like the Philippine President Duterte's war on drugs, where there were extrajudicial killings and there was really sort of a critical and severe crackdown on drugs, drug users and drug sellers. So Pheu Thai calling on another drug war, I don't know if that's going to go down politically well. I think it would need to be tempered with an outline on exactly what they're talking about in regards to a war on drugs, because the last war on drugs was a spectacular failure, really. It did nothing to solve Thailand's long-term problems with drugs, which we'll get to soon. And I don't think Thailand or anybody else would want a drug war like they saw in the Philippines, which again was a complete failure, or the drug war that was set up by Thaksin back in 2000. Excuse me. One of those days again. Now, I did wear a dark coloured shirt yesterday. I thought today, and look, some people are probably going to say what I'm wearing is inappropriate, but it's now time to, as I said in the heading, to sort of look at healing and look at what we can do, I suppose, in the future to avoid events like this. And there will be some very simplistic solutions offered by people here today, and I think we need to be very careful not to be too simplistic. I also think we have got to try and avoid mapping the situation in the United States, for example, when it comes to guns, and mapping that on this Southeast Asian country. I think that would be both silly, immature, and something that we should avoid trying to do. I think we can learn from the problems around the world. These problems are not just in Thailand or indeed the US. They are worldwide problems, and it does involve things like mental health, drug use, and inevitably gun and weapon control. So let's get to some comments that we had yesterday, or some questions. I've got an awesome story about what happened in Hong Kong during the week, and I think that'll be a good one to cover. Antonella Di Franco says, I have a question more on your process of selecting the news to present. Sometimes the news are minor ones, but still very interesting. And then how you go about analysing each piece, offering your view and any background information that helps understanding any information. It seems like a very laborious process, but one you carry out perfectly. Thank you very much. And from what I understand, all by yourself. Yes, TNT is absolutely 100% just me and 2 cats. I get up around about 5:30 in the morning and I just start combing through all the various news sources. I also check the lesser known news sources, because sometimes they have little interesting tidbits or stories that I think might be of interest to you. Of course, I always go chasing stories that might relate to visas, immigration, travel generally, because I know those stories will, of course, interest you, and I do my best to keep you up to date with accurate information in that regard. As far as the analysis is concerned, I suppose I just apply some 6 years doing news here, well, originally at the Tiger, but before then at the Phuket News. So I've sort of had some 11 years experience in the news cycles here in Thailand. And I don't really consider myself a journalist, probably more of a commentator. I try and be accurate, but I also try and offer an opinion from time to time. Sometimes those opinions aren't popular, but I think it's important sometimes to frame the stories within the context of what's actually happening, certainly with the political situation. For example, I talked about the cannabis bill and how it should be framed not as a public service by the government to criminalise a formerly illicit drug, or to sort of move into the 21st century with some liberal new drug laws. It's all about politics and nothing else. So I try and add those perspectives so that you can understand why some decisions are being made. Hopefully that helps you, Antoine, but it's basically, Antonella, sorry. It's something that I sort of do because I like doing it, and it's great that I've got hundreds of news sources that I can sort of look at and sometimes compare the way one publication covers it compared to another. And sometimes they're wildly different. And you should know when they are and perhaps why. Robbo in the Bay, hello to you. Question, when we visit Thailand in March, assumingly next March, we want to get some local flights to Chiang Mai and maybe to the south. How early is it necessary to book, or is it better to book when we arrive in Thailand? I know you've had a lot of experience with domestic flights. 134 flights in 2 years, to be exact. Okay, so if you know exactly what you're going to do and you don't want too much flexibility, then I'd buy the flights now. If you buy them now, you'll get them very cheap, some 6 months out. So, and the thing is that they would be so cheap that when you get here and you do want to change your mind, then you maybe won't care if you have to book some other flights because they would have been so cheap. So I'd probably book the flights that you want now, and then if you want to, the flights will be much more expensive when it comes to booking them like a week before, but they'll still be relatively cheap. Flying domestically in Thailand is quite cheap. There are 6 discount airlines. I can think of 5 off the top of my head, but I think there's 6. So there's quite a lot of competition, and those airlines are slowly opening up. I can't guarantee that they're all going to be around when March comes next year. I mean, of course, the situation is quite fluid. But I flew, and they're not paying me to say this, I flew almost exclusively Thai Vietjet over the past 2 years, and I had very few problems. Indeed, I found their performance almost exemplary. I always seem to get the exit row. They seem to have some sort of red sticker on my profile or something. They always put me in an exit row. I'm only 174 centimetres. I don't really need the exit row, but thank you to Thai Vietjet. Scott Johnson, the news of the shooting at the end of my trip in Thailand has shaken me. Being from the US, you would think that I would be used to this tragic news. Watching the coverage, I'm crushed for the parents of the children. Well, I think we all are. I woke up yesterday almost in sort of some shared grief. I was imagining what it would have been like to have been one of the parents. I'm not a parent, but I don't know if they could ever get over this. So, yeah, I agree. He says, I hope for peace for all the families involved. I don't know how you can cover this without becoming emotional. You're right. I have something in my eyes just writing this. My sincere condolences to all involved. Thank you, Scott, and I'm sure your comments are shared by many, many people. UKD says, question, it's got to be asked. Tim, what are your views on the gun laws in Thailand? We see lots of those horrendous attacks over the pond, but the people in power seem to be run by the arms makers there. Is it similar in Thailand? Well, I'm not sure whether you're, well, UKD, I suppose you're talking about over the pond, the Atlantic and the US. I can't make any comments about what happens over in the United States because I don't know enough about it, except from a subjective, an objective outside point of view. Then they're adding pot to the pot legislation. I sincerely hope they learned from this horrific event. Well, I think the cannabis laws and what happened on Thursday are probably two quite separate incidents, and we shouldn't sort of be discussing them both in the same sentence. Look, thanks to that, what are my views on the gun laws? Well, if now that you ask, let's go to what some of those rules are. I found them sort of interesting to read about. The gun laws here, and I'm basically reading from an article in The Nation yesterday, nationthailand.com. Most critics point to the enforcement of the 1947 Firearms, Ammunition, Explosive Fireworks and Imitation Guns Act. Quite comprehensive, and this was written back in 1947. It's been updated. It's been amended 9 times, and it aims to control the use of firearms. As per the legislation, gun ownership is banned for former convicts, drug abusers, clearly not, frail or disabled persons, mentally unsound or infirmed persons, incompetent or semi-competent persons, and minors. So it looks like some of those definitions could give the police a certain amount of wriggle room. But when it comes to former convicts, drug abusers, frail or disabled persons, mentally unsound or infirmed, certainly there, I suppose, are some quite defined parameters to define those people. Unemployed persons or those with no income or fixed place of residence, as well as those convicted of public order offences, are also not allowed to own guns. Now, I know a lot of you people will be shouting at the screen at the moment saying, oh, well, people have got around those rules. I'm just saying these are the gun laws in Thailand, which on face value are quite strict, but clearly there's quite a few abuses of these. Gun shops are required to renew their permits annually and are allowed to procure or import a maximum of 30 pistols and 50 rifles per year. That's not much. The law also sets requirements for gun registrars and authorised officials regarding firearm ownership, registration and imports. It also notes, this article, once again I'm reading from the nationthailand.com, gun ownership in Thailand is the highest in Southeast Asia and the 13th highest in the world, as per the independent Geneva-based Small Arms Survey. As of 2017, well, that's 5 years ago now, 10.3 million guns in Thailand were owned privately, or 15.1 guns for every 100 persons. In 2019 alone, there was some 31,000 gun-related crimes, 6,400 of those involving registered guns, and 24 unregistered firearms. As per the 2022 Guns Deaths by Country report, gun deaths, Thailand has the third highest number of gun-related crimes in Asia, and that's after Iraq and the Philippines. So hopefully that will give you a bit of context as to what exactly the gun laws are in Thailand. So let's just go to some of your comments, because I'm sure a lot of you will have something to say about this. And as I've said, please don't say anything violent or untoward. Don't talk about sort of draconian or violent retribution on people. I mean, if I see them, I'll delete them, but YouTube may also not allow your comments to be made, or it could actually affect my channel. So just be careful how you frame your comments. Good morning, Tim and everyone. It's from True Blue Thai. Still trying to get around the killing of the children. We share your comments. I don't think anybody disagrees with those comments. Richard Evans, good morning from Redcliffe, Queensland, Australia. Nice part of the world. Greetings from Sorrento on the Mornington Peninsula, one of my very favourite spots. This is a QZ Tube. Gee, I'd love to get, I'll be in that part of the world on the Mornington Peninsula next Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. I'd love to get back to Sorrento. Really a wonderful, wonderful place with a lot of history. So Greetings to you too. What have we got? Looking for some comments here rather than salutations, although it's very nice for you to say hello. I'm very glad to see Thailand is focusing on trying to focus on the root cause instead of focusing on just guns. Of course, that will be the case. Of course, it's now emerged that the gunman killed quite a few of the children using a knife. He did use his guns, but he had apparently a limited amount of ammunition. But I think all the weapons were used at his disposal. Hay fever, itchy throat. Not so much, just talk, talk, talk. And they've got the air conditioning on here, which also sort of dries you out. Cheers. What have you got to drink in your part of the world? I still have an issue with the Thai PM going around handing out big cheques to the families like a game show host. Look, this is interesting. Both the Thai Prime Minister and the King and Queen of Thailand visited the Nong Bua Lompu Childcare Centre yesterday. There were some, trying to frame my words carefully here, some probably poor optics in regards to the royal visit. But talking about the Prime Minister, look, it is the way in Thailand, and I think this probably leads to another discussion, which I'll mention in a moment, which is the media coverage of the incident here in Thailand. But the Prime Minister going around with the flowers and the cheques and publicly and with the sort of the selfies, I think it probably sent a bad message. This is using our Western sensibility. I think the Thais probably enjoyed seeing those photos. When they were preparing for the arrival of a posy of flowers, not even the actual people, but a posy of flowers from one of the princesses, they actually rolled out a red carpet for the arrival of these flowers. The photos of the rolling out of the red carpet were later removed, although I posted one on my own Facebook page because I thought that really sent a very poor message. Now, in regards to the visit of the King and Queen last night, they visited some of the surviving staff. They also met with some of the families of the deceased children. They also visited some of the injured in hospital. And look, it seems to be mostly quite respectful. They were wearing basically formal clothes, suits. They weren't sort of all done up in the royal paraphernalia. There were some shots which once again seem to have been removed from a lot of the media of people sort of grovelling on the ground, prostrate upon the arrival. That's really the behaviour of the people who were there. I think they're just used to behaving like that around royals in Thailand. Certainly, no matter what your rank, I would never be grovelling on the floor in front of you. Was your shirt involved in a car accident? No. Again, I just thought we just need to brighten things up a little bit today. So I picked up one of my old shirts. I'm glad to say it still fits. So thanks very much. Happy weekend. Back at you. Just a reminder to hit that like. Thank you, Nikki, for reminding people. Love your reporting. Thank you very much. Tim, will you come to Pattaya for a meetup? Mark, very good question. Oh, I've got to talk about Thai media, don't I? This is the problem when you do it all by yourself. You're sort of heads racing around, your comments and my notes. Yes, I will be coming to Pattaya. When I get back from Australia, I'm picking up my new car at last. And I'm going on a road trip. I'm going to come up to Bangkok. I'm going to visit Pattaya. I'll definitely visit Hua Hin, which is sort of on the way. I'll probably go to Samui as well. Probably won't get to the north of Thailand or the northeast of Thailand this time, but my intention is to sort of try and take TNT out on the road more often. Because there's lots more of Thailand I'd like to see, and it's all very well sitting in my living room yakking about different parts of the country, where it's probably better for me to get some realistic perspective and actually visit those areas and talk to the locals myself. Okay, talking about Thai media. Now, a lot of people were quite shocked by some of the coverage here in Thailand. After 11 years, I've become, initially I was very shocked too. For instance, could be the coverage of a car accident. And they quite often have photos, unblurred, unedited, of just detached heads or broken limbs or dead people, splattered brains, posted on their websites. The Western sensibility is to edit those completely. It's just a different sensibility. Now, we know that the Thais as a culture are generally quite a gentle people, despite this uncommon occurrence, an incident on Thursday. But when it comes to media coverage, they can get quite realistic and savage. Now, I suppose you could say that that is a greater freedom of the media than we do have in some Western countries, when we tend to edit and censor a lot of these incidents for a whole lot of reasons. So a lot of the coverage on Thursday was quite brutal, and I know that the Prime Minister did actually make a request for people to take down a lot of the video and photos that were posted. Some of it was very, very disturbing. Very, very disturbing to me and to many of you. But here in Thailand, it's just the way they cover things. I don't think we should read much more into that, except it's just a different sensibility on the way that they cover news here in Thailand. Thought that was worth saying. Stephen J.L. Austin says, anyone that would stab 20 plus infants is completely off his rocker. Those who had any interaction with him knew he was off. Sorry, but I don't believe this type of lunacy can be prevented. Well, this person we know had priors. It's now emerged again that it doesn't appear that he was high on drugs at the time he committed this horrendous, hideous crime. So what was driving him, we may not know. He killed his wife, he killed his own stepson. Most people talking about him say that he was quiet and quite polite. A lot of his police former friends and co-workers, co-officers were sharing stories about him, saying that he was a little bit erratic. So how do you sort of say, well, you need to watch this person? Who's qualified to say that? These are some of the problems that we need to address. Mark Lynn, I had a problem with Thai VietJet. Fell in love at first sight with one of the hosties. Okay, good on you. Sick puppy, there were stabbings and shots fired. The use of knife on those kids makes this incident so horrible. I think any form of violence on innocent children is horrible. Anyone with drug use issues and history should never have access to guns. Well, I think that's the actual law in Thailand. And somehow he and many, many others have got around that. And I think that is probably going to frame a lot of what's going to happen in the future. There are laws already in place, as I read from that Nation Thailand article. I'll put a link, by the way, of that article on the description after the show finishes. I think it's a matter of enforcing those laws. There are so many laws in Thailand. There's laws like in any other country. It's just here the enforcement many times is piecemeal and clearly inadequate in many cases. Okay. Foreigners can't own guns. Correct, Dave. Foreigners are not permitted to own guns here in Thailand. The Snives, it seems like the officer had a couple of problems, but meth and drug use can ruin your life quickly. Yes, he had been convicted of using methamphetamine and had quite a few problems with methamphetamine, known by the users as Yaba, Y-A-B-A, and quite different from the crystal methamphetamine, which is ice. that he was apparently a common user of methamphetamine pills, which are very easy to get, very available, and also very cheap at the moment. Just look at where Thailand is, surrounded by Myanmar, Laos, China not too far away, and Cambodia. There is an area they call the Golden Triangle, which is the border between Thailand, Myanmar and Laos, pretty much right up the very north of Thailand. And those borders are very leaky. I mean, there are checkpoints, but if you want to get something across those borders without detection, it's really not going to be much of a problem. There are some high-profile drug busts, but probably they bust 1 or 2% of the total amount of drugs that flow across those borders. And just over the borders in the northeast of Myanmar, the tropical canopy hides hundreds, if not thousands, of meth labs churning out these products, and portable and easily moved. So the Golden Triangle really just at the very, very tip of Thailand. And so a lot of those drugs are easy to get, and they travel through Thailand to ports south, whereby they then get sent out to other parts of the world. The meth trade is still huge in Thailand, despite the attempts to crack down on it. GWM seems to be a good brand, and electric is the future. Looking to what's coming the next few years. This is from Frank in Thailand. Yes, I'll be doing a road trip in a hybrid electric car, and I'll be telling you all the problems I have, and hopefully all the love I have for this new vehicle. Really nice vehicle, probably the nicest car I've ever had. I mean, cars obviously, they just keep on improving in reliability and general performance and build quality, but these are beautifully built, and so far they seem to have a very good track record. I'm not sure what he free to walk into the centre, no security, no locked doors. This should be addressed very quickly. Yeah, I mean, obviously security in these places is very lax, or it has been, and clearly some sort of security is going to be beefed up. The last thing, the very, 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 very last thing we want to see in Thailand is some sort of armed guards out the front of schools and childcare centres. We don't want to see that. We hope that never happens. But obviously they need to have some sort of security, because it appears that he just wandered in off the street, shot a few of the people out the front, and then just made his way inside, killing those children. Fred Mays says there are weekly reports of arrests along the northern border that involve millions of pills each. The quantity is staggering. Fred, this is the point. As I said, it's probably only 1 or 2% of the total amount of meth pills and other illicit drugs that are crossing into the country. Probably just a fraction. And you can even imagine that some of these drug traffickers actually send out some mules with a package so that they think they are doing something to track down the drugs and stem the trade. And then, of course, the Thai police, they happily stack up the bricks of marijuana and hemp, and, well, probably less so now, but, you know, packs of pills and stuff, and they get the photo and they stand there all proud. And it looks like they're on top of the problem, but they're not on top of the problem. They're nowhere near on top of the problem, as incidents like happened on Thursday amplify. I suppose they might have cops check in their guns before going home. Yeah, this is another thing, how police are allowed to carry their guns. In some countries, the police don't carry guns. These are very, very vexed questions. I mean, as an Australian, and I mentioned in an editorial yesterday, I noted about an incident in Port Arthur back in 1996, and how the then Conservative Prime Minister did a massive gun buyback and cracked down on the gun laws in Australia. And it had a profound effect on the number of gun-related crimes after that. Didn't totally solve it, but it massively reduced the number of gun crimes and the number of people that were killed in each of those crimes. And statistically, it's just night and day between before that incident and after that incident. But that happened in Australia, and I know that other countries have not had similar success doing the same sort of thing. But that's my experience, and I lived through all that and watched it happen, and was very surprised by the result that came from that. I don't understand why there are no controls of the issuance of the chemicals to make those amphetamines, says Pierre King. Well, that's a really good point. And I think the drugs that are used, things like the ephedrine, they're probably freely available. I don't know what's involved in making a meth tablet. That's one of the problems I have with illicit drugs generally. You pop these things in your mouth, you don't know who's made them. There's no list on the packet of ingredients. So I don't know what's in the methamphetamine, but I think pseudoephedrine is part of it. And I'm not sure if that's used to make other products that people can easily buy. But it's a good point. How do they get hold of the raw materials? Or maybe they manufacture them themselves. The drug problem is very bad, but there is a bigger problem with mental health in Thailand, claims Andrew Rogers. Well, I think there is problems with mental health in many countries. Mental health, I think, culturally is a particular problem in Thailand, where it's not the sort of thing that you would do to go and confide with even members of your family or your friends if you are having mental problems. And it's harder for people to then confront you and say, look, I think you need to go and get some help. So I think culturally that is the problem. I don't think there's necessarily more mental health problems in Thailand. I just think a lot of it just goes under the radar, is unreported or unresolved, and can then end up with some sort of explosive result. Frank in Thailand says, drugs are often, in brackets usually, an escape from reality. Feeling the need to do this frequently is a sign of mental health issues, coping with things that happened or didn't happen. Nikki Dunn says, knife crime is so bad in the UK, for sure. I have a teenager and someone got stabbed and murdered 2 roads away. Dave Stewart says, the Golden Triangle used to be known for opium harvesting. Even tourists could have a little relaxing time back in the day. Look, can we just move? I'll get back to this topic. A lot of you have got a lot to say, and that's great. And I think your commentary so far has been very measured and very useful. So thank you for helping me with that. But a bit of good news. Well, not so much good news for Thailand, but I think a really good idea. And let's see if I can find this story. And this was printed in, what's happened here? Here we go. Hong Kong offers 500,000 free air tickets to tempt tourists back. 500,000. I think I'd like to get one of those air tickets. I don't know exactly how the deal works, but this is what the Hong Kong government are doing to help pick up their tourist industry. Now, annually, Hong Kong used to get about 54 million overseas travellers, noting that back in 2019, Thailand got some 40 million travellers, international travellers. So Hong Kong ahead of Thailand as a location for foreigners. Of course, a lot of them would be business people, I would think. But Hong Kong, which has been devastated by the crackdowns and the lockdowns due to COVID-19, has recently reopened up. Having said that, you still are required to show vaccine certificates, negative PCR test, and you have to monitor yourself for 3 days. So it's still not fully open. But Hong Kong offering 500,000 free air tickets to tempt tourists back. What's the first line of that saying? Hong Kong attracted around 56 million visitors a year before the pandemic, and now the popular destination is taking significant steps to win tourists back after over 2 years of some of the world's toughest travel restrictions. Now, obviously, there's not a lot of domestic tourism when it comes to Hong Kong, although, of course, I think the Chinese can apply to, the mainland Chinese can apply to visit Hong Kong, but Hong Kong really suffering without the international travel coming into the country over the past 2 years. What a great idea. Rather than going on all these road shows, patting each other on the back, doing expensive ad campaigns, why doesn't the TAT come up with a campaign like this where they give out 100, 200, 300,000 free airline tickets? As I've noted during this week in a recent visit to Suvarnabhumi Airport, it was last Monday. No, when did I come back? Wednesday night, sorry. Half the Thai Airways fleet is still sitting on the tarmac gathering dust. I promise. It's just they're sitting there. They haven't moved. And also we note that apart from a few extra flights to India, Thai Airways hasn't increased the number of flights in its winter schedule. So let's put those planes to good use. Let the Thai government spend some money directly to the tourists, because if they want to get the tourists back to Thailand, because once they're here, of course, they're going to spend money. Give them a free airline ticket, or at least a one-way ticket. I think this is a really good idea. Now, we note from the 1st of October, they have increased the amount of time that you get on your automatic visa. That's either the visa exemption program or the visa on arrival program. For the visa exemption program, most of the 64 countries in that program have been extended from 30 days to 45 days on arrival. And for visa on arrival, most of the countries have been, that used to get 15 days, are now getting 30 days. They can apply for a 15-day extension. The people on visa exemption program can apply for an additional 30 days. So they can get 75 days here in Thailand, and that's granted at the airport, or the first 45 days are anyway. So I think that's a really positive way of approaching tourism. Pay for them to come here. What a great idea. I mean, if you're really realistic about getting people back at the moment, when it's difficult for a lot of countries to come here, particularly because the airfares have doubled or tripled in some cases, give them a free airfare. I thought that was a really good, proactive sort of story. So well done to Hong Kong officials for coming up with that one. Thai Airways needs to fly to Adelaide direct, says Mark Lin. It's just poor management. Thailand needs more entrepreneurial types in government, says Bronson. Michael DiCaprio, alluding to the issue we were speaking about earlier, says the cop in question was a known live wire for a few years and nobody in high office did anything about it. Oh, you're back in Thailand already? I haven't left Thailand since October 2019. That will change next Tuesday. Fill Thailand with Aussies. Have free beer. Thanks, Mark. I'm an Aussie. I don't drink beer, sorry to say. Tom Young Guy says there's really no way to figure for this kind of insanity. I suppose they might have cops checking their guns before going home. I think we've addressed that already. Aussies in Asia says not a fan of Howard. This is the former Prime Minister in Australia, John Howard, in brackets, talking about his support of the Iraq War. But the gun buyback was a good thing, says Aussie in Asia. Stephen J.L. Austin, Tim, a few commenters are unable to self-regulate. Please consider enabling a comment timer. Thank you. Look, Stephen, I am here by myself. I'm trying to read the comments. If people are not self-regulating, if I don't see it, I can't do anything about it. Yes, there's meant to be somebody sitting next to me. I'm hoping to have some sort of moderator, helper, stroke co-host in the future, but it just hasn't happened yet. Can you make yaba from fertiliser? No, I'm pretty sure you can't make methamphetamine from fertiliser. That's what ammonium nitrate. I don't think that's an ingredient in methamphetamine. Frank in Thailand says drugs are often. Oh, I think I read that. Sorry, I've missed some of this. 500,000. What? Says Thomas Hardy. Yeah, Hong Kong are going to give out 500,000, 500,000 free airline tickets. I don't know how to do it or how to apply, but I'm going to try and get in for one of those. I'll take them up on that, says Bronson. I think a lot of people would if more people knew about it. Is that a return ticket, says Aussie in Asia? I don't know. Is this a Melbourne cafe you're in, Tim? Bronson, I'm in Thailand. This is the island of Phuket. P-H-U-K-E-T. Pronounced Phuket. I love is a stranger. I don't know where that's coming from. Good morning, Tim. I'm late. We have 4:40 a.m. in Heidelberg. Have a nice day, everybody. Thank you, Moses Braun, for taking the trouble to drop in at 4:40. Go to bed. Been to Hong Kong many times, says Andrew Rogers, before the handover, but I'm not so interested to go since 1999. But it's a good idea. Thailand should do it. I've been to Hong Kong quite a few times before the handover. Was it 97, not 99 from memory? Anyway, I've been a few times after. And except for the signage, which is basically all Chinese now, I haven't really noticed a lot of difference. Mind you, I haven't been there post-COVID as yet. Okay, just scrolling down a bit. Where is Adelaide? Where is Adelaide? Is it part of Australia, says Nong Waso. Yes, Adelaide is a city in Australia. It's the capital of South Australia. You'll get in trouble with Mr. Mark Lynn, I think, asking a question like that. PT Tan, question. Are guns easily available for purchase in Thailand? Illegally, though? Look, I have to say, I haven't run into people waving guns at me. I haven't been, touch wood, involved in any gun crime. I haven't seen any gun crime. I literally have very rarely seen soldiers with guns. Like, very rarely. I don't even see them at the airport. So I don't see a lot of gun ownership in Thailand. Now, I know they're out there. I know criminals use them. I know a lot of people talk about them from time to time, and I know people say that they are quite available on the black market. But the gun laws as they are, I think, are quite strict. If they enforce those laws, then they should at least be able to stem the trade of guns. Now, you can talk about corruption and corrupt police and the illegal sale of these drugs, but as I said, I just haven't seen them. Now, look, I don't hang around drug users. I don't hang around people in gun clubs, so I just haven't seen them. And I hope it stays that way. And obviously, after what happened on Thursday, there is going to be some sort of crackdown, some sort of attention to the gun ownership issue. Thailand should package a free flight return with a minimum spend hotel package. If you want to stay longer is okay, says Andrew Rogers. Well, all very well, it's not your money, is it? Stephen Austin again. 7 children die every day in Thailand from motorcycle accidents, damn near all preventable if wearing a helmet. Yeah, just noticing, I don't think, once again, it's useful to try and put these two conversations together, but the wearing of helmets in Thailand, particularly in some areas, is not heavily enforced. Having said that, driving around Bangkok, a good 95% of people on motorbikes do wear their helmets. The passengers, less so. I can even admit to riding around on motorcycle taxis without a helmet for short trips myself. But when you get out into even places like Phuket, the wearing of helmets is much less enforced. But the conversations of comparing motorcycle deaths and what happened on Thursday, I don't think is a fair comparison or particularly useful. That's just my opinion. Tim, how did those pictures get on the internet so quick? Well, I mean, the problem these days, of course, is oh, my phone's pointing at me. I can't show it to you. Everybody's got a mobile phone. Everybody can live stream. Facebook live stream, TikTok, YouTube, and they can press the button and live stream, or they can just film and take photos, thousands of photos if they want, in quick succession. So people took those photos and they uploaded them, and that's how it got uploaded so quickly. Now, of course, it's up to the platforms then to try and moderate that, but these platforms, I mean, you don't have Mark Zuckerberg sitting there with a wall of monitors monitoring everybody's phone, and the bots can only pick up so much at one time. Now, either the platforms or the people have removed a lot of those photos and the videos, thank heavens. So I'm glad to say that it's difficult for any of us to see those. Unfortunately, I did see some as I was trying to investigate what was happening in the early hours after this incident during the week, and certainly shocked me. Accidents are unfortunate, but not the same as killing kids with a knife or gun. Exactly, Nithana. I just don't think talking about the death toll on the roads in Thailand and comparing it to what happened during COVID. I mean, a lot of people during COVID were saying, oh, the COVID numbers are dreadful, but look at what happens on the roads. More people die on the roads. Well, one stage that actually wasn't the case. I mean, I think there were 6 months when more people were dying from COVID than were dying on the roads each day. But that situation obviously has changed since. But comparing them is not useful. They're just two different situations. Amazing nowadays, people are filming instead of calling for help. Well, Nikki, that's a good point. Maybe people should have taken their time to turn their phones on to calling the police rather than taking photos. Just the way it is, isn't it? Is 5G network very good in Thailand? If so, then I'm watching with envy from Malaysia. Thailand's got some of the fastest internet speeds in the world. I'm dreading going to Australia where some of the internet speeds are not very good. 5G is very fast. I'm on 5G now. And pretty much everywhere I go around Bangkok and even around Phuket, I get 5G. If not, I get 4G. And in very limited cases, I'll get 3G. But 5G is very fast. I think I've got my upload and download speeds are in the hundreds of megabytes per second, or whatever, however they measure it. So internet speeds are very, very fast in Thailand. I don't know why it's so good, but Thai people really do like their social media. I think per capita they've got one of the highest usages of, say, Facebook. So many watching. Remember to hit that thumbs up. How many people have we got? 211 people. Thank you very much for watching. It's great having you with us today. Appreciate your time and your support. 5G amazing in Thailand, no question, says Thomas. Bronson, yes, I'm envious of Thailand's internet speed. My internet crap lately, don't know who to change to. Nikki, are you in Thailand? Shop, go shopping, find out. If you want to know, I'm with True Move. I've been with them for 11 years and had very few problems with them so far. By the way, I did go down to True Move the other day and said, hey, I'm going to Australia next week. How much would it cost me to roam so I could use my current SIM card in Australia? Because they'd have a link up with some of the carriers over there. Well, I very quickly decided that I'll get a SIM card when I get to Australia, probably in my other phone. It was 350 baht per day. Now, given that I only pay 700 or 800 baht per month for my mobile phone, unlimited 5G, and my home internet, very fast speeds again, that's, 700 or 800 baht a month. I wasn't going to be paying 300 baht a day for roaming in Australia. It might turn out to be a cheap alternative. I don't know what it's going to cost me because I'll need to get some sort of unlimited 4 or 5G coverage so I can do this sort of thing in Australia. Tim couldn't see his phone staring at him. Thank you, Mark. This is what happens when you get my age. PT Tan, the Hong Kong in 97 is no longer the same today. Well, of course not. The Cantonese language is being replaced by Mandarin, and those Hong Kong residents who can have left the special economic zone, special administration region, sort of the special economic zone anyway, and the population is largely from mainland, says PT Tan. I still enjoy going to Hong Kong. 2019 was the last time I was there. I was there for a few meetings and some shopping, and I think it's still a fabulous place to go. Amazing nowadays. So let's just scroll down a little bit. Questions need to be answered. Does the Thai police force have help for officers who take drugs or alcohol? Just sacking them compounds the problems. I don't know. I can't comment on that. I think it's... Yeah, I don't know. You'd like to think that there'd be some sort of help and support, but it's probably just not the Thai way. It may become so after this incident, but yeah, I'm not sure if there is any support. There were some other questions that came in, by the way, which I should address, and they came in before. I usually post on Friday saying if you've got some questions for Saturday, send us a message. So these are answering those questions that came in before today's program. Zam says, Tim, I'm currently in Antalya in Turkey. Sorry if I got that wrong. Let me tell you, I found the best massage here, not Thailand. Obviously a different sort of massage. If you've ever had a massage in Thailand, they can be very vigorous, even a little bit painful. If you're ever going to have a Thai massage, start by saying mild, gentle, soft. Otherwise you might get a shock. Thanks, Zam. I'm actually off to Turkey next year. I was meant to go this year, but things stopped me. I'm hoping to be perhaps in Turkey on Anzac Day next year, which would be a great experience. Nick Hubbard, drug-related, but he wasn't stoned when he committed his devastating act. Can you confirm this? I understand that police have released a report, a toxicology report, saying that he wasn't under the influence of methamphetamine at the time of the crime. That's an initial report that was out. So it says he wasn't stoned. I'm not sure if you're referring to cannabis, for example. I can't comment on that at all. I don't know. But they did say that he wasn't under the influence of methamphetamine at the time. Also, the children died by knife, not gun. Can you confirm? Many thanks for your sincere reporting. My pleasure. I understand that all three types of weapon, a 9mm pistol, a rifle, and a knife were used during his killing spree. But I understand that a lot of the children were killed with a knife, from what I've read. My Retired Life says, when is the Thai government going to crack down on corruption in the police force? Seems this tragedy yesterday was drug-related, and from what I've seen over a number of years, is rampant corruption enables the drug trade to flourish. Well, there's no doubt that there would be some police who were involved in Thailand's enormous drug trade. Not all, not the vast majority, but some. Yes, there is corruption in the Thai police force. Yes, there's corruption in the Thai army. Yes, there's corruption in the government and politicians. It's not everybody, but it is a culture, and that culture needs to be, or perhaps should be, stamped out where it affects other people to such a degree. In a lot of cases, the sort of mild corruption, and that could be everything from people paying under the table to get a particular visa that they don't have the requirements to meet. From that all the way up to heavy corruption and drug trafficking and stuff, there is different levels of corruption, but the high level stuff, a lot of it goes underreported. And a lot of media are sometimes in the pocket of some of the people who they're investigating. So it's a culture here in not just Thailand, but quite a few Asian countries. And it's something that's more common, more open, I might add. Corruption happens in a lot of countries around the world, but rather than the paper bags going under the table, in Thailand, often those paper bags get handed out over the top of the table and quite open about charging for certain services. It's things I've confronted before. And in many cases, when we're talking about this sort of blue-collar corruption, I've been asked many times to make payments for things or make payments to avoid things. And I've actually, I suppose, made some of those payments to grease the wheels to make my life a bit easier here. Am I complicit in corruption? Well, some of that low-level corruption, yes, probably. In many cases, Thai people call it business rather than corruption, but to stamp it out of the police force is going to have to come with a generational change. It's not going to happen overnight, and it's going to take successive governments being very vigilant on the topic to have any impact on the deep-seated and entrenched corruption here in Thailand. So that was all the questions. Going back to your comments on today's program, as we sort of get close to the end of today's show. Sorry, it's still most entirely Cantonese spoken and most people are from Hong Kong, says C2J, refuting a comment that was made by somebody else. I understood that most people still speak Cantonese in Hong Kong. That was my understanding. Everyone needs a way to make a living, and in Thailand it's hard, says the Snives. I suppose in some ways that does encourage corruption. Tim is the man. Sad to see him branch out to TNT. Pat Thai. I'm happy to be doing TNT. My past business is now in other people's hands, and good luck to them in their endeavours and what they're doing. I have no interest in watching what is happening there. I'm doing my own thing and I'm happy to do it. So this is all I've got to offer you at the moment. And it's both a daily program, usually around or 9 or just after 9 a.m. in the morning, and then with this live show on Saturdays. Not a bad thing for me. I'm happy to be out on my own. Question, are you looking forward to your holiday, Tim? Coming home, how long since you've been back? Oh, a few issues there, AJF. Are you looking forward to your holiday? Yes, it's going to be a working holiday because I'm still going to be doing this program every day, and I've still got a sort of a day job where I've got to be writing articles, so I'll be working 7 or 8 hours a day at least, even though I'll be in Australia. And I will definitely be having time to catch up with friends, family of course, and also have some relaxing time. But it's sort of a working holiday. It's the way these days. It's so easy to work when you're away in a different location these days. Second time, coming home. Now, I regard Thailand as my home now, so I'm not going home. I'm going to Australia to visit family and friends. My home is in Thailand. How long since you've been back? I was there in October 2019 for about 10 days, 10 extremely hectic days, living in a different bed every night. This time I am going to be staying in one location for a lot longer, so probably 4 or 5 days in Sydney, 4 or 5 days down in the area called Gippsland, and 2 or 3 days with my family in the Mornington Peninsula. Linking that incident in any way with people smoking weed is, I think, beyond even Thai logic. Look, we don't know. I haven't read anything about that issue, so I don't think we should be making any connection between the discussions about cannabis laws and the incident on Thursday, because there's been no linkage or discussion about that drug at the moment. Tim, why do so many Thais want to own guns? Criminality is relatively low. Well, I don't know that they do want to own guns. I mean, obviously some do, and maybe it's a bit of a macho thing, but I don't know that a lot of Thais want to own guns. Again, I've not seen that in my circle of friends, any desire to own a gun. And I don't think I've had a Thai friend that has had a gun, or certainly hasn't made it apparent to me. Okay, a few other comments. Let's all unsub. No. Where would you recommend for a massage in Bangkok? Says Pat Thai. Oh, look, I don't know. Ask for a recommendation. I don't have one. I'm not really heavily into massages as such, but I'm sure there are some very, very good ones. Just about every 4 or 5 star hotel has got a spa attached these days. You'll probably pay more for those. For the ones along the street, I don't know. It's really going to depend on the masseur, isn't it? I suppose these are different from massages with happy endings, but for just a good massage, I don't know. Jump onto Google. Perhaps get a recommendation from a friend. I can't recommend anything to you, I'm afraid. Okay. He was a psychopath. Okay, so again, we're sort of making claims. We're not sure if this person was diagnosed with psychopathic tendencies. Tim, do you think loss of face might be a cause of Thai folks not asking for help with mental issues? Dave, absolutely. It's part of that face issue. Certainly, it's just not a thing that I can see Thai people doing. Outward signs of overt emotion. Another thing I really wanted to cover as I very quickly go to Netflix. I saw a documentary last night I wanted to recommend to you. Okay, so a couple of weeks ago, Netflix released a 6-part series, which was a dramatisation from the point of view of the kids in the cave, talking about the Thai cave rescue at Tam Luang of the Mupa football team. Now, there was a new documentary that came out last night called 13 Lives. It's on, am I talking about the right one? Or is that, no, I think that might be, sorry. It's called The Trapped 13. 13 Lives was the name of the film directed by Ron Howard, which was released some 2 months ago. This is called The Trapped 13, and it's a Netflix 1.5 hour documentary, and it's made by the same people that made the 6-part dramatised miniseries, which I highly recommend. But this documentary was also very good. Had interviews with the children, with 6 of them anyway, who were part of the making, including Coach Ekapop. So it's called The Trapped 13. It's a documentary on Netflix, and really, really enjoyed that. Talking about their experience inside the cave, their fears, how they got through their days, and what they were thinking when they were about to be taken out, and how they approached the method being used to take them out of the caves. Really well worth seeing. The Trapped 13 on Netflix. That is a free plug for Netflix, of which I have not been paid. I watched the Thai Cave Rescue last week. It was superb to watch. AJF, absolutely. The Thai Cave Rescue is the name of the 6-part miniseries dramatisation. Out of all the documentaries and films made so far, it was by far the best, in my opinion. Ek and Titan spoke very well. Steve's Thailand adventures, yes. They interviewed 6, I think it was Mark, Titan, Title, Coach Ek, the one that spoke English, him. Yeah, there was about 6 of them anyway who spoke, and it was really good to see. An amazing story. Will always be an amazing story. Tim, is flooding over in Ubon Ratchathani? I'm flying to Ubon on the 14th of October and drive to Sisaket. Ubon Ratchathani and Sisaket were in the firing line when the tropical storm Nauru came through last week, the week before. I can't even remember when it was. Anyway, it was a good 10, 14 days ago. Yeah, largely the flooding is over. It's still affecting parts of northeast Thailand, central Thailand currently, parts of Chiang Mai and Chiang Rai, and as we've noted, all that water is at some stage going to be making its way down the Chao Phraya River and affecting Bangkok, and we'll continue to follow that story as those flood waters move inexorably towards the Gulf of Thailand or back to the Mekong River in the case of northeast Thailand. But I think by the time the 14th of October comes, barring any further inundations or heavy rain, you should have a great time in a very, very beautiful part of the world. The Trapped 13 is just brilliant. Yeah, I highly recommended. And just finally, Tim, are you a member of the Foreign Correspondents Club of Thailand? They do have some good debates on issues concerning Southeast Asia, says Pierre King. I've applied for membership of the Foreign Correspondents Club of Thailand and I've been refused. So I have no interest in becoming part of that organisation or walking into their dusty club rooms. I don't really see myself as necessarily a journalist in the old mould. I'm more of a internet modern commentator. I try and do it factually, I try and do it reasonably, I try and make sure it's accurate, but I don't really see myself as a journalist, and I do from time to time commentate on and editorialise on some issues. So I'm not really a journalist, and I have absolutely no interest in becoming part of the Foreign Correspondents Club in Thailand. And I can tell you there are some members of that particular organisation who I think are well worth avoiding at any cost. One of them who worked for the BBC. We never refused Tim. Tim is accepted here. Okay, that's it. So thank you very much. That's been fun for the past hour. I mean, obviously discussing some important topics, and I don't wish to devalue the extraordinary grief that many families and friends are going to have to go through over the next few weeks. I think we need to keep these people in our thoughts, and we don't need to have this issue disappear off our front pages for a little while, because there are still some very important questions to be asked. How they'll be handled in Thailand, I think, will be very interesting. How the government will respond to what happened with any actual measures, I think will be really interesting. So let's watch that with interest. Keep the people in that particular region up in northeastern Thailand, Nong Bua Lampu. Let's keep them in our thoughts. Let's keep those families in our thoughts, and let's hope that the lives lost will eventually end up with some sort of greater crackdown and prevention of possible issues like this arising in the future. And with that, thank you very much for watching. It's been great having you with us. We'll be back on Monday with a program from Phuket. On Tuesday, I'm not exactly sure where we'll be coming. No, Tuesday will be Phuket as well. Wednesday's the day I'm not sure where I'll be. It'll be interesting. But then we'll be in Australia for a few weeks and doing our best to get this program out to you each day. From Phuket, from TNT, from me, thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next time.